I first noticed the bright orange and pink flags fluttering across my alfalfa field early on a Tuesday morning. They were planted like breadcrumbs, marking some invisible path, and I felt a surge of anger and confusion. Someone was trespassing, surveying, and I hadn't given permission. Who did this and why? I walked slowly along the fence line with Scout, my old border collie, who sniffed each flag with suspicion, growling low whenever a breeze shifted them. The numbers scrawled on the flags didn't make sense at first. Section 3, pipe route, over and over. But the implication was clear. My property was being marked for something I had no say in. I bent down and lifted one of the stakes, turning it over in my hands, feeling the weight of audacity from strangers I hadn't met. After retiring from the fire department, I had sold my suburban home and bought this 36-acre farm precisely for its privacy. The farmhouse from 1947 held memories. The rolling pastures were untouched, and my father's lake sat quietly at the back, carved by his own hands decades ago. He had lined it with stone and built a valve system for irrigation, shaping the life of this land. And now, some outside authority had decided it didn't belong to anyone. I called the sheriff, who confirmed my suspicion. This was trespassing. Deputy Holloway came by that afternoon, taking notes, making calls, and explaining that the HOA from the neighboring development had approved some infrastructure project. They were running a utility line, maybe water or sewer, through my property. I tried to stay calm, reminding him my land was outside their jurisdiction. He nodded, promised to document everything, and advised me to take photos. Over the next 2 days, I walked the boundary, photographing every stake, every spray-painted line, feeling my pulse quicken each time I imagined what they might dig into my soil. By Thursday, the survey stakes had multiplied, and fresh tire tracks cut through the mud near the tree line. Scout stayed close, hackles up, and I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching me from the trees. Whoever thought they could march across my property had underestimated what I owned. That evening, I sat on the porch, staring at the lake, tracing my father's work with my eyes, remembering the sweat and care it took to build this place. I realized this wasn't just a legal problem. It was personal. They hadn't just touched my land. They had threatened a legacy. I started mapping out the stakes, imagining the pipeline slicing through the fields, and a plan began forming in my mind. I knew the HOA didn't understand that I controlled the water upstream, that my lake fed everything below. This gave me leverage they didn't see. By Friday morning, when the surveyors returned, I was ready. I walked the field with Scout, camera in hand, documenting every movement, every line they laid, and waiting for the right moment to assert control. The confrontation wouldn't be loud or angry at first. It would be deliberate, calculated. I had the facts, the rights, and the water, and that gave me power they hadn't accounted for. As the sun climbed higher, I watched them work, pretend to be a passive observer, but inside, my mind raced. Every stake they drove was another reason to stop them. Every spray-painted line another misstep they thought they could bulldoze through. But they hadn't checked who really owned the lake upstream. I made calls, consulted maps, and prepared my evidence. By the weekend, I would show them that trespassing was only the beginning of their problems. Each morning, I walked the perimeter, documenting, planning, and feeling the familiar pride of ownership tighten in my chest. The lake shimmered under the sun, a reminder that some things belonged to those who respected them. By Monday, they would find out that I wasn't just a farmer. I was the one who controlled the water. The stakes, the lines, and the flags meant nothing against decades of work, legal rights, and a lake that was mine to command. As the HOA crews worked, unaware, I smiled quietly. This wasn't just about stopping a pipeline. This was about proving that even when outsiders think they hold the power, the land, and its secrets can turn the tide. Every photograph I took, every careful note I made, brought me closer to reclaiming control. By the end of the week, they would understand. The lake had a master, and it wasn't them. I had patience, strategy, and the law on my side, and they had only assumed ignorance. Scout padded beside me as I walked the fields again, the flags and stakes marking the beginning of a story they would regret ever starting.